It wasn't supposed to be a public software. It was just supposed to be for myself and some investor friends. And I shared it with some of my other real estate buddies, and they bought properties, and they were the ones who convinced me that I should share this to the public. And so, that's where we're at today. So I invest in short-term rentals, and I also run a tech company of vacation rental data.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Welcome to the STR Home Financing Podcast, where we believe a legacy is something you build, not just something you leave behind. And now, here's your host, Jeff Chisum.
Hey, this is Jeff Chisum with STR Home Financing. Very excited to bring another installment of 3 things that you should know, and very excited to finally bring a solution to a question that I get all the time, which is, Jeff, where are people going to invest right now? What markets are they going to? And my default is always, I have exhausted my lane as far as information around financing. There's other resources that I would defer to seek that kind of information. So I bring on Kenny Bedwell today from STR Insights. And he is that lane that I defer people to when I get that question. So welcome, Kenny. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Jeff.
Yeah, it's good to have you. So we're going to keep to our format of a micro podcast, 10 minutes or less. So we're going to jump into it here. So first 3 questions: who you are, what makes you a human, anything you want to tell us about where you live, your family, etc., what you've done, what's your background related to short-term rental, and what are you doing? What do you bring to the STR community today and in the future?
Yeah, that's my favorite question. I tell people, what do I bring to the community? I bring in insights, STR insights,
Perfect.
Yeah. So I am I'm not from, but I live in Buffalo, New York. So Western New York. And I moved here about 5 years ago. I worked for Citibank before. Did some financial research for them in the equities market. I have a background in kind of big data and data analytics. However, I am a short-term real estate investor. I have 6 properties that I own and manage myself. So I'm constantly looking for deals. I'm in the real estate game. And that's kind of how our company came about. Is I was trying to identify, markets to invest in that my family wanted to visit that fit our budget. We had invested heavily in Buffalo and Niagara Falls area. It's been great to us, but we want to diversify our portfolio. I've got 2 daughters. I just had a daughter come in. She's 3 weeks old now, so that's fresh. So I'm not sure when this podcast will come out, but she's still pretty new. But yes, we love vacation rentals and that flexibility to be able to travel and go places where, we can just do like a day trip or, maybe even fly for a week or something. And so that's kind of, I guess, a little bit about my background and myself and really like my roots is what I like to call it. I'm not a startup guy. I'm not hey, let's, run this company. But what happened was I needed to create a solution of finding where to invest. Everywhere online, you see either people telling you, oh, I'm in this market or that market. And, I bought years ago and it's doing well. But, when you look at the prices today, things don't pencil out. And so I really wanted to find something that was like, okay, well, what are prices of markets of houses today? And what is their revenue? And putting those together and then creating some sort of platform that allowed me to break down and see where, based on my budget, that fit my revenue goals as well, that I should invest in. And so that's kind of how I got started with STR Insights. And then it really grew from there. And it wasn't supposed to be a public software. It was just supposed to be for myself and some investor friends. And I shared it with some of my other real estate buddies, and they bought properties, and they were the ones who convinced me that I should share this to the public. And so, that's where we're at today. So I invest in short-term rentals, and I also run a tech company of vacation rental data.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so kind of is a great segue into the meat of our interview, which the question I've thrown out to you today is, and it goes along with there's choices, there's different platforms out there that will analyze STR data. So when someone is researching those opportunities through those platforms for that type of data, what are 3 things that someone should consider when they're researching a data platform for STR properties?
Yeah. So The number one thing that people need to do before they even start looking for properties is they need to understand where they're at in their journey and their investment journey of acquisition. So what I mean by that is, obviously, have they called you yet? Talk to you about their budget, like that. You need to do that before you get started.
I always say that's the logical number one first step is get pre-approved. But next step.
And then once you're pre-approved and you understand what you can afford, and I'm going to also kind of skip a step too and just say, let's assume that you already know what your ROI goals are, what you're trying to get out of the property. Now you're at that beginning of where should I invest? Should it be in my backyard? Some people they might know like, hey, I want to invest in a particular market. How is this relevant to a data platform? Well, I mean, there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of data platforms out there. And if you just go to any random data platform and you have no idea where to invest, you're going to get confused because you have to plug in what markets you want data on. You have to tell them where you want it, and you might have to pay per market. And so that's why, I created STR Insights. We focus on kind of that first stage of where should you invest, what markets fit the best based on your budget, based on your ROI goals, based on your regional preferences. There's emotional preferences in short-term real estate investing. And we need to basically be able to put that in and understand what works best for us and where. And so really it's looking for a tool. If that's where you're at, you don't know where to invest yet, then you need to start there and look for a tool that can provide market to market comparison. It needs to be flexible. So that's the number one thing I would recommend is looking for software that's flexible in terms of what you are looking for. So it takes into account your budget, takes into account your ROI goals. It takes into account destination types and regional preferences. And then the next thing, the point number 2, I guess, would be, the resources and regulations. With these tools, sure, you can say, oh, great, let me go put in, you can just Google what are the top markets to invest in, STR markets to invest in. And a lot of those markets on the list have very strict regulations. It's just some algorithm that pumped out, these numbers. And so you want to make sure that a software is taking into account, it can tell you a little bit about the regulation. You obviously need to still do due diligence, but that's another piece of the pie too, is, having that piece in the tool. Then the last point is just any software, and there's other softwares out there that can do this, but make sure the softwares help you where in the markets to invest. They show you the attributes of the top performing properties, or they allow you to be able to determine that in their softwares, because that's ultimately, it's not just, I want to go invest in a Destin, Florida or Gatlinburg. You need to know what works in that market and where that works in the market. Not everybody's going to make the same amount. So understanding quality and location and all these other things. And so you really need software that allows you, or platform or whatever you want to call it, that allows you to understand what those things are quickly and saves you time. So those are the 3 things. So flexibility, resources, and identify what, quickly wins in those markets.
Yeah, no, those are all great. So is it okay to call you a data nerd?
100%.
Awesome. Perfect. So from data nerd to STR investor to developer of STR Insights, Kenny, I really appreciate what you've done for the industry, what you're doing for our community, because I really think you are someone who cares about people and doing the right thing. And that is very evident in the things that I see you produce and the things that I've heard you comment on. So appreciate all that. What are 3 ways that people can connect with you these days, Kenny?
Yeah, sure. So, we'll start out with the free ways. So I have a free Facebook group unassociated with STR Insights. It's all about data. It's called the STR Data Host. So Facebook, just at STR Data Host. And we talk all things data related to short-term rentals. So it goes all the way from amenities, impact of amenities on revenue, to reviews and rate, just all different things. So that's one great way. The second way, obviously, you can go to strinsights.com if you want to learn more about our software. You can reach out via there and speak to, a team member. And finally, follow us on Instagram at STR Insights, or on Facebook as well. And those are the best ways you can reach out through there and contact us if you're interested about the tool and learning more about how the software can help you. So if not, you just want to speak even directly with me, go to the Facebook group and reach out from there. So
yeah, that's perfect. Well, we'll make sure we have that information in the show notes. Appreciate you joining us today on the podcast. Until next time.
Jeff Chisum is a registered mortgage loan officer with CMG Home Loans, NMLS ID 1820. CMG Home Loans is an equal housing lender. All programs, products, and terms discussed on this show are subject to change without notice.